All right, I'm live. Welcome to Coastal Studies Institute. Thank you for coming out tonight for our first Science on the Sound of the season. My name's Reed Corbett. I'm the executive director here at the Coastal Studies Institute. I see a lot of familiar faces. Again, thank you for coming out. We're excited to start off. Now, this was not planned. Well, the Science on the Sound was planned, but having a storm in the Atlantic was not planned. I mean, maybe they planned it, I don't know, but it certainly piqued a bit of interest. We are streaming live and think we have quite a few people online as well. We are getting started with our Science on the Sound season for the fall. Please, keep track. We actually don't have a date yet for the September, but we'll be putting information out there. I encourage you, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, to sign up there. There's some sheets back there that you can sign up, maybe grab some swag if you'd like. And that way you can sort of stay informed with different events that we're going to be hosting throughout the fall. We're excited to have quite the showing here. I thought it was just going to be Erik, but apparently David's here, Drew's here. So let me try to do some introductions. Erik is the only one that provided me with a good paragraph of who he is, and Erik I actually hadn't met before until this evening. So happy to have Erik Heden here this evening, who is the warning coordination meteorologist with the National Weather Service. And I do want to put a plug in for the National Weather Service. How critical it is, not just for providing those forecasts that we might look at daily basis, but for this sort of outreach, not just during hurricane season, but think about all the events we have throughout the year. The National Weather Service is a critical organization for providing us the information that we need to make important decisions on a daily basis. And so I do want to thank the group for coming out. This is, I think, the second presentation in the last 6 months that they've come out and done for us, and we appreciate that. And so, again, Erik, thank you for being here. We also have David Glenn in the back, who was here last time with us, who is the meteorologist in charge, still meteorologist in charge? All right, at the Newport office in Morehead City. And happy to have Drew Pearson here as well, who's the director of Dare County's emergency management. I'll sort of leave it at that. If you want to go in further, then you're welcome to. So
that's good.
Thank you all.
All right, so I'm Erik Heden, warning coordination meteorologist with the Weather Service in Newport. Mr. Drew is going to speak second. I'll speak first, primarily focusing on Weather Service products, things you should be paying attention to throughout hurricane season, and things you should not be paying attention to as well. A lot of our bottom line up front is this. If you just follow these couple of items, you'll be in really good shape for hurricane season. Seems pretty simplistic, but a lot of people don't know this or don't follow this. And we start with continue to trust official sources. There's plenty of information out there, but you need to focus on official sources, accurate, consistent messages for hurricane season. I'll give you some examples of that. Anytime we get a storm, always focus on the impacts, not the category number. Impact, impact, impact. Never ever focus on just the category. Water's what kills, and impacts occur well away from the center of the storm. A lot of people think you have to have landfall. It has to make direct impact on your community to have an impact, and that is just not true. We've seen impacts with storms that were thousands of miles out in the ocean, as well as ones that have made landfall on our area. This is our biggest challenge right now, misinformation. People tease us all the time about getting the forecast wrong as meteorologists. I see some of you smirking. We did have to get through 3 semesters of calculus and physics-based, or calculus-based physics. So a lot of math went into our degree. And we do get it accurately, correct a lot. Our challenge is, where are you getting that forecast from? A lot of people will say, well, I saw it online, social media, this app said this forecast said that. There's a lot of noise out there, especially on social media. If you follow somebody on social media or YouTube and you see this, get ready, here it comes, not good, this is rare, day after day after day, you will never miss a storm if you follow people like that. But you'll also hear about the 99 storms that never ever happen in our area. So it really creates a lot of mistrust, anxiety. People will say, I thought you said it was going to do this. And my first question is, where did you get that from? Was it from us or not? And chances are it was not from us. These are 2 sources I want you to pay attention to. The National Hurricane Center down in Miami, Florida, hurricanes.gov, or the local National Weather Service office, weather.gov. If you just remember that, you will be in very good shape. Consistent forecast, accurate forecast. We will let you know when you need to pay attention. Because you will be anxious if you follow everything you see on social media about every storm that was supposed to happen. By the way, we were supposed to get a storm this week. What happened? We didn't get one. So please pay attention to us and ask yourself why. If you're seeing something that's saying this over and over again, why are they doing it? Well, weather drives a lot of people watching. So people are interested in weather. That's why they do it. So we don't benefit from hyping anything up. So please pay attention to us. I always joke around. You probably say, yeah, you're the best. You know, you have to say that. Work for the National Weather Service. We're part of the federal government. We fall under NOAA. We've been around for a long time. Roots in our community to 1874. Long time in eastern North Carolina. 1970, the National Weather Service got their name. It used to be Weather Bureau, and that's when NOAA was formed. So we've been around a long time doing this. This was a statement that was issued before Helene. We all remember Helene. Along the coast, we were okay. The mountains, not as much. Along the Gulf Coast, they had some pretty bad surge as well. If you can't see this statement is from the Greenville-Spartanburg office in South Carolina. They cover the North Carolina mountains. This is an incredibly dangerous situation, potential to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. Consider temporarily relocating if you live along these rivers. Again, this is Wednesday, September 25th, before the storm got there. So the information's out there. Sometimes it's human nature. It's hard to believe it could happen. You live in the mountains. You don't usually get hurricanes. That's understandable. But our information is very clear and concise. And one thing I mentioned, Mr. David and I love coming up to the Outer Banks, where I should mention that our office is in Newport, Morehead City. We cover 15 counties in eastern North Carolina. So places like Greenville, down through Morehead City, most of the Outer Banks, that's our area of responsibility. We love coming here. We get paid the same today as we do during Helene, or Irene, or Isabel, or Matthew. We get paid the same. It doesn't benefit us to hype anything up. So when we use strong language, it's because we care about the community, not because we're trying to drive you to view our products. And please remember that, because that's an important distinction. This is the forecast for Helene. This is a very important forecast. This goes back last fall. Helene was not a storm yet. I just want you to just go into the mind of a meteorologist. It's just is unbelievable, the improvement through the years. Before Helene, it wasn't even a storm. We predicted in 3 days it was going to make landfall as a major hurricane, that's the letter M, in the Panhandle of Florida. On the right is a satellite showing the eye of the storm going into the Panhandle of Florida. Just let that sink in. 3 days before landfall, it was not a storm. And we accurately predicted that it was going to be a big storm and it was going to go and hit the Panhandle of Florida. That's very impressive. That's something that we may not have been able to do decades ago. So really good forecast accuracy. But the other thing I want you to keep in mind that's not on the slide, consistency. A lot of what you might see out there are single model runs. It's called deterministic. It's one model of the European or the American model. I see everybody's nodding their head. Everybody knows so much now compared to 10 years ago. Guess what? We look at all of them and we'll do a blend, a consensus, and that tends to be the most accurate and consistent. If you use just one model, it's Charleston and it's Norfolk and it's up the coast and down the coast. If anybody's watching Aaron for next week, there's some wiggles farther down the road. So what we use is a blend, and that tends to be the most consistent forecast. And that's why we say trust us. Accurate is good, but consistent is even better. Because if we're all over the place, how are you going to trust us? How are you going to make a plan based on something that's wiggling and wobbling all over the place? So remember, both consistent and also accurate is important. All right, so now here's a quiz time. We're on a college campus, right? So I was told we have to give out quizzes. Is that true? You all signed up for a quiz. Okay, so all we need is a show of hands, and don't be shy, but who was here in the mid-'80s, 1985, or who has heard of Gloria or remembers Hurricane Gloria at all? All right, don't be shy. So we got some people. All right. Back in 1985, this radius represents our average error, 340 miles. So if Mr. Drew and I were working back in the mid-'80s, I won't tell him I was just 6 and I lived in Maryland at the time. But if we were working back in the mid-'80s, 3 days out, I would tell Mr. Drew the center of the storm may go anywhere from Savannah, Georgia, up to Washington, D.C. So wide area. So he has to make a decision for Dare County based on that. A lot of error back in the mid-80s, 72 hours out. Raise your hand if you heard of Hurricane Floyd. You were around in 99, so even more hands, right? I remember I was in school in upstate New York, and it came up through there as well. Our error, still pretty large, but a little bit better, just over 200 miles. So again, 3 days out, I could say somewhere from Charleston to Richmond. The center of the storm, the dot on the map. We know hurricanes are hundreds of miles across, but still, I wouldn't be able to tell them any better than somewhere from South Carolina up to Southeast Virginia. Our average error last year, 2024, during the year of Helene, was under 70 miles. I would be able to tell him somewhere from Wilmington to Greenville. That's not me making it up. That's me crunching the numbers and looking at the improvement from the National Hurricane Center through the decades. It's tremendous. So what I need you all to do is pay attention to official sources and spread our information. We're doing the work. We're doing the work. We need your help paying attention to that and then sharing it with the community. Then we'll all be better for that. So a lot of improvement through the years with forecasting. There are a few words of caution. One of them is understanding the forecast and making sure you understand what it actually means. So raise your hand if you've seen the forecast cone before. We should all our hands are up, right? So this shows the most probable path for the center of the storm. It doesn't say who's going to be impacted and who won't. It's only where the center of the storm is going to go. So if you're anywhere near this, you should be paying attention. Sometimes people see this, and in this case, Helene, they're in western North Carolina, and they say, "Phew, we're just in Asheville, we're just out of it. Phew, we just missed it." No. That's where the center's going to go, more than likely, and impacts occur hundreds of miles away. So if you're anywhere from Florida up through New Jersey, where we stand today, you should be paying attention to that forecast cone. The reason why it's gotten skinnier is because our accuracy has increased. It's based on our error. It's not hand-drawn. It's not really wide because it's a big storm, and then it's a skinny one because it's a little one. It's skinny because we keep getting better. So pay attention to the warnings and watches because we will overlay those on the map. So if you're under hurricane watch, warning, even if you're not in the path, it still means we're going to see those impacts. Impacts occur well away from the center. To highlight that, we show Floyd. Here's the center. Here we are up in the Outer Banks. We're getting those outer bands of rain and wind and surge and wind hour after hour after hour. And then, oh, by the way, here comes the actual center. It takes a long time to get here. So a hurricane's not a dot on a map. I know a lot of you are nodding your head, but if you're new to the area, that you hear landfall tomorrow morning, you think, I've got until tomorrow morning. No. Hundreds of miles across. As soon as those first outer bands reach us, we can have wind, rain, and tornadoes. And like what we may see next week with Aaron, even if a storm is in the ocean, we can see that swell up to many days ahead of the storm. So impacts occur well away from any landfall. So don't just focus on landfall, focus on all the aspects of the storm that are going to bring to our area. I mentioned at the top, hurricanes.gov, weather.gov. I just want you to remember that because if you go anywhere this summer and you remember that, you will get hooked up with the local office. If you've got vacation this summer in Chicago, Alaska, Maine, and you go weather.gov, you click on that part of the country, you'll go to the local office. We have 122 offices that are open 24/7 to serve you. And our mission is protection of life and property all over the United States. Our local office is /Newport. So if you add that or scan the QR code, you can bookmark our local website and it'll have information pertinent to Eastern North Carolina. Drew always likes when we joke around, so we included a joke this year. If it's the weather you love, now you guys say it with me, it's weather.gov. That's all you need to remember. If it's weather you love, it's weather.gov. One thing I do want to point out on this page, weather briefings. There's a lot of really good information I'm going to show you in a second that's on both social media and our website that you have access to. Raise your hand if you're on any type of social media, anything. Even if you got off and now you're back on and you're like, why did I get back on? That counts too. So obviously we know there's a lot of stuff on social media. So this is my challenge to you again. Follow us, NWS Morehead City, and when you see us make a post like we're doing now with Aaron and talking a little bit about it, the track and so forth, start to share it. You're helping your neighbors by sharing good information. If we start talking about the rip current threat next week, which we may do very, very soon, share that. So the family from Ohio or Pennsylvania or Kentucky that got a house at the beach for a week and they don't know anything about rip currents, they might see that because you share it. So follow us, NWS Morehead City, really good information. If you want to get into the weeds, you're here for a science talk, you cannot get enough of science, you got to check out our YouTube channel. We have some really cool stuff on there, NWS Morehead City. Hurricane related, all of our briefings to the county and the state we record. So if you want to see what we're saying, it's not a 30-second TikTok video, but it might be 10 or 15 minutes, but it's very, very detailed about what we expect with the storm. This is all your information, so please utilize it. It's at your fingertips. I mentioned the briefings. We share those on our website and social media. We will tell you exactly where we think the heavy rain threat is. Or with Helene, it's not going to be a big impact, but if we see something, it's most likely on Friday, it's most likely a tornado and marine threat. So all of that, again, social media, website, weather.gov, or just search NWS Morehead City. It's all there. And I just should point out, all the offices do this. So if you have moved, you're going somewhere else, weather.gov, click on that local area of interest. All their social media channels are on that website. Really, really good information that you should be accessing right now. A show of hands, how many are familiar with the tropical weather outlook? So a lot of us, and some of you might not raise your hand because you might not have seen it like this, but if you've watched the local news out of Virginia Beach, you've watched station out of Greenville, you watch the Weather Channel, AccuWeather, whoever, you've seen the tropical weather outlook. It's updated 4 times a day. It shows you a low, medium, and high chance of something forming. You do not need to look at this 4 times a day. You will stress yourself out. Drew, David, and I might look at it 4 times a day, but once in the morning, check it out. Is there anything I need to be paying attention to? And then move on with your day. But this is really good from this day forward. You should be paying attention. Hey, there's something out there. I haven't done my hurricane kit yet. I better start doing it. Or I don't have to worry about anything for the next week. The Hurricane Center has a lot of good information. I do not show you everything because we could spend a whole separate talk on just the Hurricane Center. Men and women down there do a fantastic job. The 2 I want to show you are pertinent to our area where we stand. Number 1, arrival time of wind. This is one of the tools that Drew uses in the county when they discuss hurricane evacuations. When do you need to get out of here safely before the winds will pick up? Well, you have access to that too. When are you going to leave? When are you going to prepare your property? Most likely time, or even a worst case scenario we give you. The other one that I'll call your attention to is how high the water may get. Storm surge, the rapid rise of water ahead of a storm. There's a map that will show in a worst case how high the water might get. You can zoom in, not to street level, but you can zoom in pretty good to know where you are, to know how high the water might get. That's just a sample of what's on the Hurricane Center website. You'll see them on our website. You'll see them on our social media and in our briefings. There's a lot of crossover, but I just want you to be aware of that so that you're looking at those resources that you may not be aware of. This graph shows the peak of the hurricane season is September 10th, so we have a long way to go. We show this early in the year because we've had some storms May, June, July, but it tends to really ramp up. We're right about here. So if we were going to go on a hike and climb some mountains, we're just on the uphill climb. So I'm a big sports fan, NFL season starting, college football. So I tell people September 10th is halftime. Halftime. And that puts it in perspective. The kids are going back next week. We've got Labor Day to get through. And September, we can forget about storms. No, no, no. September is usually our month. You can see some of the notable storms right around that September 10th peak. Hermine, Irene, Dorian, Florence, all notable names. Florence more down toward us. But even into October and November, Matthew and Sandy. late season storms. Hazel in the 50s, late season storm. So we have a long way to go. It's not to scare you, it's just reality. We can look at the data, and September 10th is about halftime of hurricane season. A show of hands, how many have lived here longer than 10 years in Dare County? So we have less than, maybe 30%, 30 or 40%. So most of us in this room are newer. For those that have raised their hand, you've heard a lot of these names or you lived through them. For those that didn't raise your hand, you've heard these names. We are statistically the most likely stretch of coastline in the entire United States for storms. Not Texas, not New Orleans, not South Florida, the Outer Banks. On average, I think it's every 5 years, our return interval. So we're prone to storms, and those are some of the names that we've had. What you don't see on this list is each storm is unique. Each storm has a different personality. Matthew's just off the coast, but it produced some of the highest surge values in Hatteras Village. Michael was just a tropical storm, and it moved over land after being a Cat 5 landfall in the Gulf, and it produced 2 to 4 feet of surge on Soundside just north of where we stand today. Each storm is unique. Each storm produces something else, and that's a long list of some of the history in our area that have cut us off on Highway 12 and produced some pretty big impacts across our area. For hurricane preparedness, I want to direct you to this website. Drew also handed out a nice guide from the Dare County. Hurricane preparedness, everything is on here. Everything's in your book. I won't go in depth. Cash on hand, food, water, medicine. We're going to talk about that in a second. What I want to talk about is bookmark that website, save something, and on subsequent slides, I'll have it up as well if you don't get to it. But what I want to talk about is this planning. You're not stressed right now. We're still a week out from whatever happens next week. Maybe you're starting to feel a little bit, but for the most part, you feel pretty good. If you make those decisions now, you're going to make good ones. If you wait until we get the week of the storm, you're going to get stressed. You're not going to make as good of decisions. We will run out of supplies. So that's why we preach preparedness May, June, July, August, not October, not 4 days before the storm gets here. It's really a 3-step process. The first step is, what is your risk? Please take into account everybody in your home. It's not just, have you been flooded or have you had a bad storm before? Yes, that's part of it. Are you in a vulnerable location? Do you have elderly parents? Do you have young kids, cats, pets? Are you reliant on electricity? All of that matters. Your risk level changes based on who's in your house. Don't forget anybody when you're talking your plan. Now that you've thought about that, it's time to move on to the kit. You probably heard through the years, 3 days, food, water, medicine, anything you need without electricity. That's basement, floor, ground level. You really, 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 really want to at least try a week of food, water, medicine, anything you need. In a natural disaster, it takes a while to get back to normal. It's not because people don't want to come help you, it's because there's a natural disaster, and there's a lot of people that need help. So the better you are on your own, and the better you are prepared, the better your family's going to have an outcome. So please let that sink in. And everybody jumps to the canned goods and bottled water, very important, but don't forget the little things, prescriptions, contact lenses, diapers, baby formula, anybody in your home, you got to take that into account. We're so used to, oh, David, I need something. I'll just get it on Amazon 2 days. It'll be here, right? I'll just run to the store. They close at 9. I'll just sneak in there and get whatever I need. Doesn't happen during a storm. Doesn't happen. So please be prepared. And last step, please have a plan to leave. A lot of people, especially those that have lived here forever, say, I'm never going to leave. Drew, Eric, David, not going to leave. Been through Emily, Isabel, Irene. Oh, it was bad, but I'm not leaving. Just have that thought in your head where you would go or what you would do. So when you change your mind at the last second, you don't have to look up a hotel. You don't have to pick which family member you're going to stay with. You just do it. Because the reality is, you are going to be more comfortable away from here if we get a really bad storm. You're going to be safer if you're away from here during a really bad storm. We like to say have a couple routes. You can't always just go to Virginia Beach or Raleigh. It may work. Sometimes they get it worse than we do. So just kind of have that thought. And Drew has taught me this along with other managers, emergency managers. A lot of people say, if it's really that bad, last second, I'm just going to go to a storm shelter. That's definitely a safe alternative, but that's your last resort. You're going to be more comfortable with your dog and your animals and your family at a hotel in Western North Carolina or your family up in Pittsburgh or Washington, D.C. or Richmond than you are in a storm shelter. It's a safe spot, but it's not going to be as nice as it would be one of those other locations. The last 10 minutes before I give it over to Drew, we're going to talk about impact, impact, impact. Behind me, there's a number scale. Raise your hand and be honest if you have made a decision to stay or leave based on that number. Right? We've all done it. Or you've said it. Hey, I'm not going to leave. This thing's just a 2. David, let me know when it gets to be a 3. I'm out of here. Right? This is the Saffir-Simpson scale, and we highlighted and bracketed it is a wind scale. It does not tell you how much rain you're going to have, how long the storm sits over you. Does it hit at high tide and you had a foot of rain last week? Doesn't tell you any of that. It only tells you how bad the wind's going to be. I don't want you to ignore this, but please, instead of just looking at that number, focus on what will the impact be. A couple weeks ago, we had Chantal. It was a tropical storm and then a depression over Raleigh. Did you see the pictures of the flooding? From a tropical depression. Did you see the devastation down our way from Florence? You all escaped it. It was just a 1. Irene, a 1. Michael, a tropical storm. Hermine, a tropical storm. They didn't even get a number, and it was still bad. So instead of just looking at that, if you get anything out of this talk tonight, instead of just paying attention to that, pay attention to this. We'll be very, very happy. Water's what kills. Water, 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 especially where we live, whether it's storm surge, heavy rainfall, or rip currents, and that's one of our concerns heading into next week. So those are some examples of the surge and devastation in our area from that, but water is definitely one of our biggest risks that we're concerned with. So we'll end with those impacts. We start with water because that's our biggest concern, and then we'll highlight a couple other examples of things that can happen. Ahead of a storm, you get a big storm out in the ocean, it pushes the waves toward the coast, and that causes flooding, a quick rise of water ahead of the storm. It's called storm surge. Storm does not have to make impact in our area to have surge. It could make landfall to our south. It could go just off our coast, and we can have really bad surge, not only along the ocean front, but depending on how the wind shifts, we can have it sound side as well. These are some examples. Highway 12, we had a new inlet. A lot of us called it Isabel. We're laughing now, but we wouldn't be laughing when it happened. So cut off, for a long period of time, and the point of emphasis is you can be cut off. The water can rise very, very quickly. It's very powerful, can cause devastation to your property, and it's very unsafe. We're going to scroll through a couple images, but I want to kind of reference you over to here. Drew's going to talk about how they've got some of the, has anybody seen any of these poles in the permanent locations? Get those hands up that have seen them. Mr. Drew and his staff at the Emergency Management Office have installed these across the county. We have a mobile one that we bring to outreach talks. The reason why we do this is to show you how high water can be in our community. We show a Cat 3 because that's a reasonable worst case storm that we'll have someday. Last one we had in North Carolina was 96 with Fran. And you can see those colors, yellow greater than 3, orange greater than 6, red, getting up above 9 feet, so above that threshold. And you can see it's not just, it's not just on ocean side, but we can have sound side flooding, either side, sound or ocean, as we go down toward Hatteras Island. And then Hatteras Village, we can have both sound and ocean side. The key point, as Drew had pointed out, that's a Cat 3 scenario. We've had values of 5 to 10 feet with Category 1s. And when we're talking that 3 feet is my waist, 6 feet is right where my head is. We've had that before. That's not some, catastrophic storm. We've had it with Irene and others. And then above 9, we couldn't do the last one in here because of the ceiling height. It just shows you the depth of the water. That doesn't include breaking waves on top of it. So when we issue storm surge watches for 3 feet or higher of surge, those are low areas and near bodies of water, either the sound or the ocean, that are usually dry. And we're talking 3, 6, 9 feet. Hopefully that gives you a visual for how high, how life-threatening that is, and also how devastating it is. It's one thing to say 6 feet, it's another to see it standing next to somebody. So it produces things like this. We can also get heavy rain. Any tropical system, it's tropical in nature, it has heavy rain with it, and that can produce flash flooding. Point of emphasis, cars can float in less than 2 feet of water. Water's very powerful, so you never ever want to cross a flooded road. We don't have a lot of elevation, but if you move inland as you travel and evacuate the area, you may encounter roads like this where the water is swift, but you don't realize that the road doesn't exist anymore. And I see some of your faces. Drew's seen this probably 100 times. This picture is not something we just Googled. What's the craziest flooding? This is from just near Greenville. It's just down the road from us. The other thing is, you see this water pipe? Severed. So when you talk about staying, I'm not going to tell you to stay or go. But when you talk about staying, your life might not be the same. Power, water, things like that. If you need to call 911, how are they getting to you? So just kind of keep those things in mind. It's not all about what your house is. If you got the generator in a fortified house, it's what's going on around you. So never, ever, ever cross a flooded road. If you decide to leave, stay away. If you decide to stay, stay put. You do not want to be out and about hours and days after a storm. It takes a while to get back to normal. One thing we are definitely going to be talking about next week, and perhaps as early as tomorrow, so we can kind of get the awareness out. Whatever happens with Aaron, if it does turn into a powerful hurricane like the National Hurricane Center is predicting, and it never makes landfall on us and never gets close to us, we are still going to be impacted by at least rip currents, at least. And that's hard to, if it's a sunny, and we're finally getting sunny weather next week, people are going to flock to the beach. It's been cloudy. I thought we were in New England the last couple weeks. So please get that message out. If we start pushing that message out, please share that with the community, because that is one thing we're concerned with going into next week. Wind is another impact, could cause extensive power outages for a long time. We haven't had a really bad wind hurricane in a while. Fran was 96, where we had gusts over 100 miles per hour just to our south. So a lot of focus is on water, but can't let our guard down. We're due for a good windstorm with a hurricane. And last impact, tornadoes. Thing I want to mention with this, if you stay, in this case, Tropical Storm Hermine, you're not evacuating, that's fine. Make sure this is on. Make sure this is on, not on Do Not Disturb, it's charged up. And if you can, have a NOAA weather radio, a second way to wake you up for storms. You're probably not out shopping, but you might need to quickly act and get in the lowest level of your home interior room. Sometimes we get questions, our houses are built up because we're worried about water. I only have a second floor. You just get in the middle of that second floor. You're much better being inside, in the center of your building, away from windows, than anywhere else. So just because you don't have a first floor or basement, still being inside is your safest bet in a tornado. After the storm, don't let your guard down. Half of our deaths occur after the storm has left. So again, don't be outside if you don't have to. We've lost people, electrocution, falling off of ladders. If you have a generator, raise your hand if you've got a generator in here. Please know how to use it. Not in a garage. Carbon monoxide is a real thing. We lose people due to that with each storm. So please, please keep that in mind, that half our deaths occur after, so don't let your guard down after. I'm going to turn it over to Drew after this slide. As you leave today, just take one step. I know some of you have come in here, you've lived here a long time. If you haven't got your cases of bottled water yet, at least take that first step. Get canned goods. Just do something today that you otherwise hadn't done before you came here. We live in a remarkable area. That's why David and I love coming up here to do talks. But it is our responsibility where we live. You saw all those storms that get us, is to be prepared. We don't have control over if we're going to have a storm, but if you have your kit and you have your evacuation plan ready, then you can just move on with life, enjoy the beautiful area, and if we get a storm, you're ready to go. That is my email if you ever need anything. We enjoy doing these talks. We try to get to the community as much as possible, whether it's a back-to-school day, churches, schools, and the best part is we're free. So email me if you ever want to talk or us to be in your community. So I'll take questions. I'll let Mr. Drew set up his presentation. Then we're going to turn it over to him. Drew has a more Dare County perspective on different things, so I'll be happy to take some weather questions once he sets up. Yes.
So you began your presentation with a picture from historically what the warning that went out to people who experienced problems with Helene. And you said that, you know, that went out by the local, when it was posted by the local office. So, you know, I'm not in Western North Carolina, I'm here. When I get on to your site, the big site, and you said just click on the local office, and that'll bring me the local warnings?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, so weather.gov, you'll get a big picture of the United States. In that case, you click on Asheville, Boone, Blowing Rock. You click on Western North Carolina. Wherever you click on the state, we'll give you the local office. So it'll either be Greenville, South Carolina, Blacksburg, Virginia. It kind of shares that area. Yeah, it'll have watches, warnings, everything on that site. So just weather.gov is all you need to remember. Perfect. Great question.
One thing, going forward, if anybody has questions, if they could wait until I can get the microphone to y'all, that would be great. We do have an online audience, and so the mic is for them to be able to hear through the feed.
Thanks. When you were talking about the cone and getting so much better at predicting landfall, what is the one thing that's allowed you to improve over the years? Obviously, calculus is calculus, and I flunked. But, you know, what's been the biggest driver?
And I'll preface this with, I'm glad the calculus is behind me. I'm glad that was in my, so improvements in technology, more modeling, better modeling, updating more frequently. Our satellites, the way we measure the atmosphere has improved. Before it would be every 30 minutes. Now sometimes our satellites measure every minute. So it's like the difference between black and white TV and now we're streaming movies through the air. So advances in technology, and then we can't forget the men and women, the experience factor is a big part of it as well. Knowing, you know, let's not go so far this way. Let's slow down with that trend. So experience and then the improvements in technology.
I guess I'm up.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, I'm the guy that took a lot of calculus classes. It's a shame it was the same one over and over again until I decided I needed a new major. But I got to say, I'm committed to protecting you and doing everything I can. And Reed mentioned the Weather Service and how important they are. Each and every day, they're important to each and every one of us. Do you know how much you pay every year to get the Weather Service to deliver the services per person every year? $4 per person per year. So if you go to Starbucks and get a coffee, you've paid for the Weather Service in that piece. So if you're talking to an elected official about the future of the Weather Service, we need them. We can't let them go away. We got to take good care of them. It doesn't cost a lot. But with that said, my presentation is called Get Ready, and I'm on the 20-minute clock because we're live streaming and I got to get through this. There are some videos in here. I may skip a couple of them to get us through this. I heard people reading the book. I saw people looking at it. I heard a lot of hands going up. I saw a lot of hands going up when you talked about seeing our storm surge polls out there. So I might gloss over some stuff, but I'm going to get through this and be ready to answer your questions, okay? Ready, set, go. So get ready and here we go. 7 simple things to do now. Determine your risk. Erik talked a lot about determining your risk. It's not just about where you live, the flood piece, but it's what's going on in your life. Are you okay? Is your family okay? Are you ready to go? What's the risk you're dealing with at this particular point in time? Erik mentioned having an evacuation plan. I can't say it strongly enough. Have an evacuation plan. I saw about 30% of you lived here a long time. You're probably going to stay, but have a plan. I got a plan. I go to the EOC. My wife goes to Virginia. We have a plan. Have that plan and be ready to execute it. Have it, have a place to go. Who has a family coming to visit them every summer? You want to get rid of them sometimes, go and visit them. And they'll want to get rid of you. Take advantage of that. Go somewhere else, do that. Have that plan. Get those disaster supplies ready. Have it ready to go with you when you go somewhere. Because if you're evacuating, you need to have that stuff with you. You need your medicines, you need all that. Have it ready to go with you. Get that insurance checkup. Everybody have flood insurance in Dare County? Some people don't, because we had a lot of changes in our flood maps. I'll talk a little bit about that. But if you don't have flood insurance, even if you're in the X zone, get it and have it. Make sure you've done an insurance checkup on your homeowner's policy. Make sure you have the insurance. Well, who's going to take care of your stuff? You and your insurance. That's the best way to start. Be insured. Strengthen your home. Make sure, if you've got insurance, you're probably talking about your roof, making sure the roof's going to stay on. You're probably going through that. We're all going through the changes with policies and things like that. But make sure that things in your home also work, that the doors lock, that the windows close properly. Have you had a leak? Did you get the leak fixed? Have you looked in your backyard? If you got that great outdoor kitchen with all the stuff in the backyard, is it tied down? Is it going to get up and go and fly when you leave? Make sure you're looking around your home strengthened and make sure everything's ready to go. Help your neighbor. I can't say it enough. And this is such an amazing community. I don't even have to say it. You guys are going to do it. You're going to take care of each other. You're resilient. You're going to help each other out. But check on them. Check on the people who are new to us. 30% have been here a long time. That means 70% haven't been. Get to know each other. Talk to your neighbors. Those that have been through the storms, talk to them about it so you know what to expect and what to do. Help your neighbors. Complete a written hurricane plan. I think Erik said it as well. Now is the time. If after this talk you're thinking about it, go down and write down what you're going to do. Put it down on a piece of paper. You're not in the chaos when you need it. It's laid out. You know what you're going to do, know where you're going to go. Write it down. So with that, I'm going to add a little frosting onto some of the things. And one of them is we get a lot of questions about who makes the decisions out here. Erik said, Mr. Drew, we give him that stuff. Mr. Drew. I'm not really the decision maker. I'm the guy who influences and gets the information to the decision makers. And we put this video together to lay out the decision-making process out here in Dare County, and not just in Dare County, in North Carolina, based on the laws that we have. If you've been here a long time, you'll probably recognize some people who shouldn't be in the video anymore because they're not part of the team anymore, but bear with it. The information that comes with it is still accurate, okay?
On this delicate sandbar, emergency happens every day and tough decisions need to be made. Most days, those decisions are made by first responders who take action and solve problems quickly using the authority and resources they have at hand. But what happens when an emergency exceeds their capabilities or has the potential to bring widespread impacts to a town or across the entire county? Impacts could come from anywhere: a storm, a man-made disaster, a public health crisis, an act of terror, civil unrest, or a chemical release, just to name a few. When we are facing widespread or severe damage, injury, or loss of life or property, how are decisions made to keep our communities safe?
In North Carolina, counties and towns operate under authority granted by state statute. For emergencies, North Carolina General Statute 166A, the Emergency Management Act, provides the authority and responsibility that local governments have to prevent, prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies. The Act defines an emergency as an occurrence or imminent threat of widespread or severe damage, injury, or loss of life or property resulting from any natural or man-made threat or hazard. Counties are responsible for emergency management efforts to include coordinating activities with towns. To meet this responsibility, counties and towns establish emergency management agencies, expend funds to keep people and property safe, implement emergency management plans, provide emergency management response resources, and declare local states of emergency when needed to ensure public health and safety. The county or a town will declare a local state of emergency when they believe an emergency exists or is imminent. In Dare, each town in the county have an emergency management ordinance that designates the authority to declare a state of emergency to the town's mayor, the chair of the Board of Commissioners, or their designee. While these individuals have the authority to declare a state of emergency and impose prohibitions and restrictions, they need the best information available to make the best possible decisions to protect public health and safety.
When an emergency has occurred or is looming on the horizon, we turn to our emergency operations plan. The plan, required by Chapter 92 of the Dare County Code, provides a framework that brings decision makers, subject matter experts, and others together to share information and coordinate decision making. In the plan, we use the term senior leaders to identify decision makers who have the authority to declare a local state of emergency and impose restrictions and prohibitions. The term is also used to describe others who have authorities they can use independently to protect public health and safety. The National Park Superintendent and the Dare County Sheriff have authorities outside of the Emergency Management Act, making them key senior leaders who routinely collaborate and coordinate actions with the chair of the Dare County Board of Commissioners and our town mayors.
When challenges arise and actions are needed to ensure public health and safety, our senior leaders, along with other key personnel, come together. They meet either in person or virtually and receive briefings from subject matter experts on what to expect, ways to mitigate impacts, and how best to protect our community.
While we always focus on ensuring public health and safety, we never set aside how actions taken impact business and community activities. Often, senior leaders will reach out to key partners and community leaders to gather information and keep them informed as tough decisions are made. Depending on the circumstance, a state of emergency may be declared. While no one wants to impose prohibitions and restrictions, we know that without them, those we serve may be put unnecessarily in harm's way. While each senior leader has independent authority, either from the Emergency Management Act or other statutes that allows them to take actions on their own, they always strive to reach consensus. Once decisions are made, they are captured in a written state of emergency declaration that is quickly communicated to the public and implemented. As the situation changes, decision makers are briefed, and if changes are needed, the declaration is updated with prohibitions and restrictions being added or removed. These efforts continue until the emergency no longer threatens public health and safety. When an emergency crosses jurisdictional boundaries or is anticipated to bring widespread impacts to the county, a state of emergency may be signed by the chair of the Board of Commissioners, outlining all decisions and detailing who provided consent. Often towns will issue their own declaration signed by their mayor. At times, a declaration may be issued by just the county or a town.
Just like the everyday decisions made by a lifeguard, a law enforcement officer, a firefighter, an emergency medical technician, or a 911 call taker to save lives and protect property, senior leaders are empowered to take action to ensure public health and safety when our community is facing widespread or severe damage, injury, or loss of life or property. These are tough decisions made with the best information available from subject matter experts and key stakeholders that lead to actions that protect our community until emergency conditions are no longer present. For more information, visit www.darenc.com/emergency management.
I do hope that gives you an overview of how the decisions are made. In the tail end of the video, you saw a guy in a blue shirt with the grayish hair pointing up to the screen. He's an incident meteorologist named Scott Kennedy. When we have events like this, the Weather Service comes to us. They're in our EOC helping us get the best information we need, not just to make the decisions, but to get out to the community and let people know what's taking place. So I can't say enough about that $4 you spend every year on what you get in the return for the National Weather Service. So with that said, know your risk. I talked about it a little bit earlier. If you were in the X zone or were in an AE zone, now in an X zone, that doesn't really tell you anything about how wet it's going to get. That just tells you what you need for insurance purposes if you're carrying a mortgage. You can look that up on here. X zones flood. X zones flood. Get insurance if you don't have it. X zones flood. We do have evacuation. No, I was going to show this video. I'm going to skip this video. I saw a lot of hands go up when you said you saw our polls. This is a video about our polls. If you've seen the polls and you read the interactive display, you've seen it already. But there's also a piece of this about the flood inundation mapping and alerting network. If you want to find out how much the water's changing in your neighborhood, there's gauges out there. You can just Google FIMAN, F-I-M-A-N, and you'll be able to get information about water levels in your neighborhood. There's a great network of gauges across our county that gives you that information. And that's talked about in that video as well. I'm going to skip that one and go right on to evacuation zones. We have them. How many do you think we have? Well, I guess there's two. There's Zone A, which is all of Hatteras. all the communities down there, and Zone B is the rest of the county. Why is that? Guess what? We live at sea level. We don't need many more. We're at sea level. And you saw the flood inundation stuff. So Zone A, Hatteras Island, when we declare a state of emergency, we say mandatory evacuation of Zone A, all the villages on Hatteras. If it's everywhere, Zone A and B, every place in the county. Is it hard to get out of our county on a Saturday morning? Yeah, but the finding your way out's not that hard. You got to go out the bridges, right? The signs are there, you got to get out. But the evacuation routes are there, and I would say if you are going to get out and you want to go to Virginia, think about going out 64 to 95 to Virginia rather than up 158 through Tidewater. You'll probably get to Virginia to the north quicker going 64 out to 95 than trying to go up through the Tidewater area. Have that plan, please. Please have that plan. I'm going to say it, I didn't say it as many times as I usually do. Have a plan that doesn't include a shelter. Have a plan that doesn't include a shelter because you don't want to be in a shelter. Have a plan where you're going to go get somewhere else. Have the amenities, take care of yourself. Have it ready to go. And when you hear that mandatory evacuation, I said it earlier in the video, we don't want to do that. But when we're doing it to protect your safety. And if you don't go, we may not be able to help you. You might be that island all by yourself with the raised house, the generator going, all the roads are going around you, the water's still there. And if you have that medical emergency, we may not be able to get to you. But you will be able to safe if you get up and go. So have that plan. If you can't get out of here, or you know somebody who still needs a ride, we will get somebody to a shelter. We will get them to a shelter. All they got to do is call the EOC, 475-5655. We will pick them up. We will get them on a bus. We will get them to a shelter, and we will bring them back. But for your plans, have something that doesn't include a shelter. Erik shared a website with a lot of great information on how to get ready. ReadyNC.gov is another one. You can find everything you need about kits, things you need in them. You can also find if there are shelters open on the mobile app. They'll tell you how to get there, but ReadyNC.gov. And it's really centered on North Carolina. So it really gets down to what's going on in North Carolina. If you need help, anybody heard of our Special Medical Needs Registry? I know Greta has sort of one hand go up. We do have a Special Medical Needs Registry where you could, I got time for this video.
I'm Chuck Lysette, Director of the Division of Social Services of the Dare County Department of Health and Human Services. The Special Medical Needs Registry is an emergency preparedness tool used by Dare County for communicating with medically fragile individuals, for pre-event planning, and if needed, for evacuating before a disaster. Our Adult Services Unit oversees the registry for Dare County residents. Who should register for the Special Medical Needs Registry? Dare County residents who would need assistance with medical care and/or personal care during an evacuation or a hurricane, or those who may need assistance while they are sheltering during a storm due to their physical and/or mental impairments should register. The registry is not just for the elderly population in Dare County. It's not just for social services clients. Participation in the registry is voluntary, and all information will be kept private and confidential. Also, anyone who uses oxygen and/or receives dialysis is strongly encouraged to register. These are two critical needs that can be impacted if access is limited to where the person lives after the event or if power is lost during the event. The Special Medical Needs Registry is important because Dare County and local municipality officials also need to know where the area's most vulnerable residents are so that they can contact them quickly before and after an emergency occurs. Once you register, you will remain on the registry and do not need to re-register each year. Each May, a social worker will contact you to verify and update your information. Each time an event is approaching, you will be contacted. Based on the information you provided, we will work with you to make sure you are ready to implement your evacuation plan. We will remind you to take your essential medications and medical supplies, medical equipment, any special foods you require, important documents, and a driver's license or other identification. If an evacuation is ordered, we can assist with transportation to a shelter. Individuals who require a dialysis or oxygen will be evacuated to a location in proximity to these services. As a reminder, plan ahead for disasters as resources can be very limited during an emergency. In addition to registering for the special medical needs, it is important that you take a few minutes to register for OBX alerts and create a smart 911 profile. By completing both, you will receive public safety and routine alerts and notifications from local officials, and we will be able to review your potential needs as we prepare for a storm. Finally, develop your evacuation plan now, including where you will go and how you will get there. If you or someone you know may benefit from being added to the Special Medical Needs Registry, please visit darenc.gov/special needs or call the Division of Social Services at 475-5500.
We're very lucky in Dare County to have this. There's not many other counties in North Carolina or across America that do this. It's a great program, and if you need it or you know somebody who needs it, get them to sign up for it. Erik talked about getting official information, those trusted sources. We do hope that not just the Weather Service, but you do trust us, me. If you don't, come over and talk to me about it, because I want to make sure you do. We are a trusted source of information. The Hurricane Center and weather forecast, we get out via OBX Alerts. Everybody know what OBX Alerts is? Yeah. Everybody signed up? If not, please do. We love it. If you got friends coming or people that need to get it, they don't only going to be here for a while. Some their emergency alerts to 77295. They can sign up with the text to join. We do have the integrated public alert and warning systems, so we can send out wireless emergency alerts. And this video, I'm going to skip this video, but this tells you how to set up that smart profile and how to get into 911. I'm running a little bit late on time. But love the beach, respect the ocean. Erik talked about the hazards that are going to come next week in the ocean. We do have a great program called Love the Beach, Respect the Ocean. Every morning we send out morning beach conditions. People can text OBX beach conditions 77295 and they get the alerts every morning. We have found that it has reduced the number of lives lost to ocean hazards. We used to lose about 10 a year. We're hopefully only lost one this year. We hopefully lose not many. So it works, and it gets to those people before they go to the beach. So please let people know about it. What about reentry? We always get asked about reentry. It could take a long time. Everybody a Dare County resident here, do we have visitors with us? Dare County residents, if you got a Dare County driver's license with your Dare County, a North Carolina driver's license. I wish we had the whole thing, but a North Carolina driver's license with your Dare County address on it, that'll get you through a checkpoint. Getting a permit online may speed you up, putting it in the window may get you through quicker, but have that ready for you. We can do it all online. It's pretty simple. If you have questions about it, let me know. And 2 short videos here. Don't be Tom, be Debbie, and they'll be self-explanatory.
You can't realize what your house is like when it starts flooding. Everything floats. You can't get down the hallway. I mean, you got to fight to get where you're going. The door was flexing. We had to hold it. I don't know how long we held it. I don't know how high this water's going to go. But we're going to be trapped like rats in here. I saw death outside that door.
Debbie had a different experience.
When the word came out that there was mandatory evacuation, we evacuated. We might not be here if we hadn't. I just feel numb. I don't think I processed it yet.
You're probably wondering what storm that was. That was Michael making landfall on the Gulf Coast as a pretty major storm. 12 to 13 feet of storm surge, pretty good wind, so there's a lot of wind damage in that one too. You could say, we're never going to see 12 to 13 feet here. Guess what? If Florence hadn't turned, we could have. They saw it in New Bern, 10 to 13 feet in New Bern. We could see that level of water here. So just be mindful of it. And that's it for me, and I got us close to on time. So thank you all for coming out, and please, if you have questions, Erik and I will be here.
Is the pole with the water height, water level above sorry, let me start over. Is the pole with the water height or water level above sea level or at ground level?
Above ground level. So it's above normally dry ground, normally dry ground. We used to do different datums, and it would mean different things to different people. So now we just try to say that it's low-lying areas by the bodies of water, whether it be the ocean or the sound, that are usually dry. So above ground level, it's 3, 6, 9 feet high. So.
And I will say, to go on top with Erik just shared, they account for the elevation of where that pole is in the storm surge forecast. They account for the elevation. They take the guesswork out of how high it is. So if you see the pole in front of the Southern Shores Town Hall, yeah, it's going to be pretty deep up there. It's going to be pretty deep around it. But if it's going to be above ground there and they're forecasting to be 4 feet, that accounts for the elevation of the ground there.
And the audience member may or may not have heard this part about that's just the level of the water. It doesn't take into account breaking waves on top. So especially our sound communities, a lot of these open-facing communities, if we have a strong wind blowing that water toward the shore, it could be multiple feet higher in open areas. So.
All right, we have actually one more online question. Has your particular weather service been negatively impacted by cutbacks, and if so, how?
So it was definitely some trying times in the winter and early spring, some uncertainty, but we weren't affected locally. The same level of support we've given to Drew through the years in the various counties really hadn't changed. So I mentioned we've been around for a long, long time. We've been through many storms. We've been through many challenges in the past. You're not going to find a more dedicated agency. So it can be challenging sometimes, but you're still going to get the same level of service from us because we're so dedicated to get through all that calculus and to work 24/7, midnight shifts, Christmas, Thanksgiving. That's hard. So if you find a staff that does that, they're going to get through anything.
And I will add to a little bit different to Erik's answer because I'm not with the Weather Service. But please support the National Weather Service. They are public safety professionals. They stand the watch to protect you and I. And the funding for the National Weather Service isn't just for guys like Erik. They'll never get that cone down further. They'll never improve the forecasting capability without the research dollars they need to do that. So the Weather Service, NOAA, I'm not saying all of NOAA, I'm saying the Weather Service, parts of NOAA that support what these men and women do to give us the best forecast products, support that. Talk to your elected officials and support the Weather Service.
I've seen the aggregation.
Yes,
I've seen the aggregation of the models over the years. What's the effect of AI on your models?
So the question about AI, we're starting to look at AI in some of the models as just another source of information. So through the years, there's been other models that are introduced, and the biggest way AI has been used in modeling is just another tool in our toolbox to look at. You know, how, and we treat it just like we do all the other ones. How's it doing? What are some known biases?
Make it faster.
Not as much faster, it just gives you more options to look at. I mean, there's more models to choose from now with the introduction of.
We used to have two, all the tracks that come, the European and the American, all this. Now there's about 20 or more.
So like I said, it just adds more to it. At the other end of the spectrum, something really neat is using it for different languages so people can get our information in different languages. So at the other end of the spectrum, a lot of people focus on models. We've used it to put our forecast into other languages for people to understand. So that has a lot of potential as well. So, yeah.
I have one question. You guys use Coast Guard or any kind of aircraft that goes into the storms to use feeds from that for you guys to make storms more, I guess, accurate?
Yes, so not Coast Guard specific. We work with our Coast Guard partners heavily, relaying warnings and things like that. But specifically for data, the hurricane hunters will fly into the storm. They should be going in the air, I think, pretty soon. So flying through the storm, dropping dropsondes, which is meteorological data that falls down into the storm and measures. So all of that is really important. At our office, we're one of about 2/3 of the offices that launch weather balloons. So twice a day, all over the world, and we're one of them, we launch a weather balloon that goes up into the sky to measure the atmosphere. We will do that up to 4 times a day prior to like a big storm, not just hurricane, but ice storms, severe weather. Definitely. But yeah, definitely the airplanes flying into them, because you need data. You need good quality data. If I'm going to predict the future, I need to know what's happening now. So we have to be good at right now before 7 days out. Good question.
I've asked the hurricane center once or twice this. When they start flying, you can actually see the models get closer. You can see the data that's coming from the hurricane hunters and all of the sampling that they're doing. You can start to see that improvement. And they really do it when it starts to look like it's going to impact land somewhere. If it's out in the ocean, they're not going to fly as much on it. They're not going to put much into it. But once it starts to get like it's going to impact, they're flying it, they're in it, and you can start to see those models improve. That's what I've been told, and I think I see that as they start to do that reconnaissance.
All right, well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming out.
And please take any of the brochures with you and give them to your best friends, because the more you get out, the more they have. Thank you.